Hi, in this video, I'd like to talk about dealing with records. Now, dealing with records as opposed to dealing with an array. So you would have been familiar with an array. Array can store a certain type of, certain type of data structure. A record is another type of data structure. So in this video, or rather these video series, I want to talk about what a record is, what a CSV file is, how we can relate them, and what a class is and how we can use a class to deal with records. Our aim is to read a CSV file record into a class and display the data into a data grid view in our Visual Basics program. That's our goal. Now, what is a record? It's basically a table with a bunch of records in it, and each record has fields in it. In other words, it's basically a table with information in it and columns. Now, the table can have multiple records. It can have and records can have multiple fields. And more importantly, each field can take on different data types. Let's have a look. So we're going to staff here. Over here, you'll notice that this is an array. You've got index and you've got locations and you've got a bunch of ages in the locations. I can't add name to this or anything. This is one array. If I want another array, I'll have to create a new array and then put names in this. So I have to propagate names. So you notice they're kind of two separate arrays. But with a record, which is over here, this is a record. It's basically a table. Each one of these rows is a record. This is record 0, record 1, record 2, record 3. And you notice that this table has multiple records, and then it has these multiple, and each record has multiple columns. So this record has 3 columns. Each column is a field. So name is a field, age is a field, active is a field. And you notice that each field has different data types. This field is string, this is an integer, and this is a Boolean. So this is basically tabular data. And records are pretty much tabular data. Now, what's a CSV file? It's basically a file type to represent tabular data. So it's perfect to represent this type of data. Of course, we can use it for this type of data as well. So really any type of table, whether it's a list. It's compatible with Microsoft Excel and many other software and many other programs online as well. And it stands for comma separated values. So let's actually create a CSV file and have a look at it. So this particular information here, I'm going to delete all of that, and I'm just going to grab this part of it, just the fields part of it, chuck it at the corner, and delete everything else. I'll just unmerge that. Let's save this as a CSV file. So file is about 5th one down, 6th one down. And now this is a CSV file. So I'm just going to close that down, and I'm going to find that file and open it. Find that file and have a look at it and show you that it's compatible with Windows. And let's just drag this file inside and have a look. And what do you notice there? So you notice that this is the fields and these are the records with the different information, and they're separated by commas. Now you notice these bunch of commas here. Probably not what we want, because that's just like data that we're using, but ultimately this is a CSV file. It's a file using commas to represent how the data is structured, basically. All right, so now that we've got this data, I need to now let's read this file into our program. And to read that file into our program, we need to set up a data structure, like a table-like data structure, to sort this out. And that's when classes come in handy. So you need to know what a class is, because that's what we're going to use to give structure to our records. A class is a blueprint to create an object, and the object that we're going to create is a record, and we're going to create a bunch of records. All right, so a class gives our programming object structure, and we're going to use this to create a record. So let's get started. All right, so what I've done here, I've created a solution here called records. We should look at the time just to double check. We're good. We're good with time. What I want to do is I want to read that staff.csv file into our program. I want to read that staff.csv file into our program. So what I want to do is I want to find where I am and go there. Find where I am and go there. So I'm here. So I'll just paste that in. So this is my project, the records project. Go into bin and debug, and I want to copy and paste this file in there. All right, so we've got the file inside the debug folder, so that's good. That's ready, and now we want to read that file in. So what we'll do is when we read the file in, we need to make sure we read it into a class. So let's create a class. So we're in records. I'll set it as the startup project. We need to add a class. So for this particular project, I'm going to right click and add a new item. And we're going to add a class, BB class. And we're going to call this class, well, it's a record. And since it's a record for staff, we're just going to call it staff record. In capitals, staff record. So add. Okay, now let's have a look at our staff. Let's have a look at the file again. And let's have a look. So the staff record has name, age, and active. So they're the three fields. So this record here, I've got to give it the three fields. Dim name, dim age, dim active. And I'll make them all capital, right? And we want to convert these into properties. I want to make these into properties.